Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the ESLD Jump Beacons Revived mod, which was originally made back in the day by forum user T. Marcos, but is currently though being maintained by forum user Boots. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is, well, jump beacons. And oh, I love that because, well, you can just set up some jump beacons around your solar system and use your ship to travel from one beacon to another beacon nearly instantaneously, and that is wonderful. And actually, we have looked at a similar mod to this before, long ago, which went by the name FTL Drive. And though similar, this particular mod is quite a bit actually more complicated, which I like because it makes it feel less cheaty. I mean, we are going faster than light, you might as well put a little effort into it, so, you know, it doesn't feel like you're just putting in cheat codes. And so let's jump into the vehicle assembly building and have a look at how all this works and what parts are needed. So let's grab a Mark 1-2 command pod for size comparison, and then turn on our mod filters so we just have ESLD beacons, and all of the parts for this mod are down here in utility. Now before though we actually look at these parts, I need to go over a couple of things, just so that some of these stats make sense. Now first off is the basics. To travel faster than light, you need at least 2 beacons. Your ship will go from beacon A to beacon B, and to do that, it will use electric charge basically to maintain the beacon and make sure that it's functioning, but to actually do the transfer, it uses a new resource, carborundum, which according to the wiki is a crystalline version of carbonite, which is what makes the tearing of the fabric of reality possible. So basically, this is the fuel used for transportation. And so you have point A, point B, using electric charge and carborundum to travel between the two. Now, as for where you can place the beacons, we have a limitation, and that is gravity. These things don't like gravitational interference, so the different beacons require different distances from a gravitational body to function. Some of the beacons can actually work pretty close to a planet, some of them actually need to be quite a ways away. But one way or the other, they do have a limit, a minimum distance that they have to be from a gravitational body to function. If they get close to one, they shut down and won't work. Now with that in mind, let's take a look at the first beacon here, the LB10 shortcut. Now this is actually the smallest and most basic of beacons, which is actually meant for very, very short range. As you can see here, it basically can't do anything beyond 10 million kilometers there, cost prohibitive, but really this thing is meant to be very short range, as in within the same sphere of influence. Basically, you'd put one of these in Kerbin orbit and another one in, say, Minmus orbit, and that's where you teleport between. And it's designed for those short trips with fairly small ships. Now the next one, the LB-15 Meander. Now this can actually teleport your ship very, very far distances, more or less anywhere within the Kerbin star system. You shouldn't have a problem, but it has a size limit. Every time you send a ship through, it will use carborundum as basically a function of the size, mass of the ship, and the distance it's traveling, and so this can only send a ship of up to a maximum of 50 tons, but it can pretty much send it anywhere. And finally, we have the LB100 Longbow Hitch. Yeah, it too can also go very far distances, and this thing is made for those large ships. So basically we have small ships, short distances, medium-sized ships, pretty much anywhere, and then really big ships where you need to go. And that is a wonderful thing. Now, again, remember what I said, you need 2 beacons, point A beacon and point B beacon. But what if you want a beacon on your ship. Now, these won't work. These you have to have a separate ship close by, and you're jumping that ship from one to the other. But if you actually do want a beacon on your ship, well, you can do that with the IB-1 Impetus Integrated Drive. And this serves as its own beacon so that it will teleport itself along with the rest of the ship it's attached to your point B beacon, and that is actually pretty cool. I like that. Now, all of these beacons, or this drive for instance, they all require a constant electric charge of 0.4 per minute to maintain basically their link to the system. So they're always using power to maintain themselves. They all also have a battery of 100 electric charge, but as for carborundum, they all hold different amounts. The LB-10 holds 50, the LB-15 250, the LB-100 500, and the IB-1 Impetus holds up to 1,000 carborundum. So yeah, this is probably your best bet for your really big heavy ships. Very fun. But if you do need some extra carborundum, we do also have some tanks here to store it. This particular one holds 100 carborundum, this one holds 500 carborundum, and finally this one holds 1,000 carborundum. And there we go. So you can have some extra stored up for various use, which does mean, of course, you are going to have to refuel these things every now and then, which is why I like this mod, because, well, not only do you have the electrical resource, you also have the carborundum there that needs to be maintained. So you can't just constantly warp ships back and forth willy-nilly. You actually have to maintain their fuel. Now, some of these things can be mitigated, which is one of the fun things if you're in career mode, because, well, what if you don't have a huge amount of carborundum, or, you know, the electrical charge is difficult, etc.? Well, we have some fun little mitigators here. So the first one we're going to look at is the Superconducting Coil Array, and this will actually lower the cost of the electrical charge by, or the carborundum cost by 10%. So it'll take less energy, or fuel rather, to jump from one place to another. And it has to be attached to the beacon, so you need one of these on every beacon in your system pretty much. We then have the Gravitational Mitigator, which is quite interesting. This one allows you to be closer to a gravitational body while still allowing the beacon to work, and it will give you about 25% increase in, well, rather, I guess, decrease in distance from a gravitational body, so you can get closer. Now, we also have a couple of other things here. Now, this one is interesting. The alignment matrix. So right now, if without an alignment matrix, if I travel from one beacon to another, our ship basically gets shot out the other end, and you very quickly have to maneuver your ship to do a burn to get into your orbit, say for instance. Now with the alignment matrix, that changes, as it'll use extra carborundum and power to make your ship match the speed and rough orbit of your beacon, which is handy. And finally, we have the Heisenkerb compensator, which is a very important one. Without one of these, your Kerbals will die. Basically, without a Heisenkerb compensator, you can really only send probes and cargo between beacons. Without it, it will kill your Kerbals. But with this thing activated, it will allow your Kerbals to safely transport from one beacon to another, which is very, very handy. Now, besides these little mitigators, there is also another way to actually make these beacons a little bit more efficient, and that is your crew. Scientists will decrease the base carborundum cost by a little bit. Engineers will decrease the beacon's electrical needs, because remember, they constantly has to be turned on, and pilots will decrease the penalty due to relative motion. So if the ship that you're trying to teleport is moving a little bit faster than your beacon, it'll take more carborundum. With a pilot on board, that'll decrease that cost. And you can stack these up to 5 people, or 5 Kerbals per profession. So 5 scientists, 5 engineers, and 5 pilots for up to a 50% reduction in those costs, which is pretty cool. So not only will you have to keep things fueled, add these little matrices, etc. to them, but you may also want a crew on board to mitigate your various costs. And what's fun is all of this is, of course, compatible with career mode. So in career mode, the first thing you're going to unlock is the LB10, and down the tech tree is when you actually unlock these different mitigators and compensators, etc. So for your initial career mode, you're just going to be sending cargo through these things, as otherwise you'd kill all your Kerbals. So let's actually go and take a look at this in action, and let's go into orbit where I have a ship parked right next to a beacon around our planet. So we have our jump test shuttle here, and let's just show that we are currently quite close to the beacon. Now, to do a jump, you have to be within 2.3 kilometers. Now, we're much closer than that, so we'll be fine. And to actually do a jump, we need to press this button once we are within range. So we are well within range. So when we hit this, we're given our warp information UI here, which shows that right now we have a little bit of drift between us and the beacon, so there is going to be a 1% penalty in the carborundum cost. We also have a warning that that beacon we're nearby doesn't have an active Heisenberg Heisenkerb compensator, rather, so it will kill our Kerbal, which isn't good. Then you'll also notice we have 2 buttons here for our 2 beacons that we have out in the universe, one near Joule and one near Duna. And you'll notice the Joule one is grayed out, and that's because right now, with how the orbits are, I don't have a line of sight, and you have to have a line of sight to do the warp. You cannot have any planets, moons, or, of course, the sun in the way. You have to have a clear path between you and the beacon you're jumping to. So right now, we cannot jump to Joule, but we could jump to Duna. So if we click this, you'll see we have another UI here. It brings us into the map mode, and there is our jump beacon there, and it's telling us all the information about our jump. Now, of course, it's in red now that, oh my god, you're gonna kill your crew if you jump, which is bad. And it'll tell us what all it's gonna happen. So the cost of the jump, the relative speed of the beacon, the total cost overall, so the base cost, then the 1% addition, where it is at Duna, and basically the transfer, we will emerge within about 8 or 9 kilometers from the beacon. And here's the fun part. The velocity relative to exit beacon will be 15,000 meters per second. So, when we come out of warp, we'll be traveling at 15,000 meters per second. And that's why you need that one mitigator on there to shut that off, the alignment mitigator. That will make it so that we aren't traveling that fast. We will actually be matching speed and orbital path with the beacon. And then if we want to warp, we can click that, but of course, it's going to kill our Kerbal. So, well, let's not do that for now and close the interface, and quickly go over here to the beacon. And if we go here, we can turn on the Heisenkerb compensator, but notice something. Right now, I have enough power on this thing that even with the beacon turned on, we're at null. If I turn on the Heisenkerb compensator, we are still at null, which actually is surprising, because it is using power. Now, if I do go back to our ship and do that, you'll notice we no longer have the warning about it killing our Kerbals. But we still have that exit beacon speed. So let's actually warp and show you what oh, actually, before we warp, we're gonna jump back here real quick, so let's do a quick save. There we go. And now, confirm and warp, and watch the magic. And there we go, we kind of get a wonky little camera effect, and we are now over at Duna. And as you can see, traveling very, very fast. And in fact, where is the beacon? We may actually already be out of range of it. But yes, if we look at the map, that's not the map button. There's M. There is our trajectory leaving the system. So without an alignment mitigator, we would need to start burning really, really quickly. Now let's actually bring our quick save back, so we're back over by the beacon, and head over to here to turn back on, or rather to turn on, a alignment mitigator. Where is the alignment mitigator? Or alignment matrix. There it is. We'll turn that on. And hey, we're still actually not losing power. Awesome. I actually built enough generators, etc. Very good. So now if we do that same exact jump, notice that we are using a lot more carborundum. Instead of like 19.21 as the base cost, well, we still have that 1% due to drift. We now also have 47 more carborundum due to the compensation of our speed, so that we are aligned with the beacon, and then also some shielding adds 0.8 to a total cost of 67.46 carborundum. And we will emerge near the beacon, and we'll be, you know, basically in its same orbital path, which is great. So let's confirm that warp. There we are. I do love that camera effect. And where is the beacon? It should be within about 9 kilometers, somewhere around here. I'm not seeing it. Well, we are close to it on the map, though. There we go. It's right there. Ooh, we're a little bit further away than I was anticipating, but still, we are within about 9 kilometers. And so that is a big and important thing that you really do want that alignment matrix to use, or else you're going to come out of warp and just be flying off into space. Now again, we could, say for instance, warp back if we so desired. Though of course, we're not within 2.3 kilometers of our beacon. We're not close enough, so no beacons are found. Now we can fix that, of course, by using HyperEdit, because, I mean, why not? I think if we go 0.25, that should do, and the Duna Jump Beacon. There it is. Oh yeah, we're good. And now, if we do this, oh, we're gonna kill our crew, all right. Oh, and hey, we're actually within range of Joule. Look at that. Because, yeah, this beacon here doesn't have any of the matrices or compensators, etc. So if I go back to Kerbin, well, we can, but it's gonna kill poor Jebediah. And there we go. And Jebediah is no longer there. We have lost our poor Kerbal pilot, and of course, we are now flying off into space because the Duna beacon didn't have that alignment matrix, nor did it, of course, have the Heisenkerb compensator. Sad day. But hey, we have quick saves. That's what that's for. So, we're back with Jebediah. And yeah, that's how these beacons work. Now, of course, if you had the IB-1 attached to the ship, you could warp at any time, really, so long as you were far enough away from a gravitational body. And you actually have to be pretty far away. That one has a gravity tolerance of 0.1 G, so you have to be pretty darn far for it to function. We're currently using on this one, I'm forgetting which one this one has. The Meander, which has a 0.5 G tolerance, and that here already means that we have to be at 2.5 million meter orbit for it to function. So 0.1, oh, you're going to be way further out. And so yeah, that is how these beacons work, and I really do love it because it is a very non-cheaty way to do faster than light travel, and I really, really do like that. It allows you to travel all over the place and even potentially to other star systems if you have all the right stuff. And oh my god, pan the camera. There we go. Perfect. My mouse was not cooperating. And it allows you to do it pretty quickly so long as you have all the resources and all the right compensators and matrices. So if you would like to check out this mod for yourself, which I would definitely suggest that you go and do, you can take a look at the link in the description. as per usual. But that is going to be it for today, folks. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next episode, where hopefully we'll be looking at yet another wonderful mod. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one!